I was raised April 16th, 1957. I was raised at Newport Lodge, number 358 in Newport, Kentucky. I lived in Harlan County, Kentucky. My father was a coal miner, and he belonged to Walnut Creek Lodge, number 666. And he got killed. I just wound up in the Masonic home. How long was I in an orphan's home? 7 years. There wasn't no work there in Harlan County for a man, much less for a woman. You know, she couldn't get a job. There was no work at all. So her sister-in-law, my dad's sister, had moved up to Covington earlier. She was single, and she had moved up to Covington to get away from Harlan, you know, because there's no lights, no nightlight or anything like that. So my mother moved up to Covington with her. And then they got a job. The war started, and they got a job in the war factories. Well, my mother kind of nudged me on. I The Korean War started, and I quit school and joined the Marine Corps, and I was living with her then, and she talked to me about it, and my cousin, who had been wounded in Korea from the Army, his leg was crippled. It was shot. So he belonged to Newport Lodge. And anyway, she kept nudging me. So I asked him one day about being a Mason. He said, sure, I'll get you a position. And so I did, and I got raised, got through it. Well, I didn't really know. I didn't really know what to expect, you know. When I was in the home, I remember we were marching together, not marching, but we were in formation, going around, and the flagpole that's right up in the center of that big yard they have there. Our symbol, and the letter G was in there. And so one of the kids says, wonder what that letter G stands for. Another kid said, that's good gravy. So that's what I thought, you know. And I never did think about much about Masonry, what they do, or it was sort of a mystery. I didn't know nothing about it. So I said, well, if it's a mystery, I'll find out maybe. So I asked Jim, my cousin, that I talked earlier, if I could get a petition. He said, sure. So he did. I thought it was pretty neat, the way they did things, you know, blindfolded and this and that. And you stand and hold your hands this way. Said, I'll never figure this out. And then they told me that I had to commit some of it to memory. And they said, this fellow right here will tell you where you meet, and he'll teach you. So he did. And me and another fellow, and I've forgotten his name, and I worked with him at the mill, the steel mill. and they kind of prayed a lot, you know. So I thought it was more religious than what I had thought. I really appreciate masonry, really I do. I feel kind of sad about it now. Uh, they don't have a direction. They're not going anywhere. They kind of drifting. I think. I think it's drifting out of true masonry, uh, spirituality, friendship, friendship. Um, just a lot of men just are masons just to be one, to go and do whatever they do and go home. I, it's just different from long from the time I came in, and maybe it'll turn around. I don't know. I hope so. But anyway, they'll get over it. In Newport, they were older fellows, and some of them had worked on the Panama Canal. You know, because a lot of kids from Newport wound up working in the Panama Canal when they constructed it. Just young kids, you know, looking for a job. The old building, the room, the temple that I was raised in was a three-floor building on York Street, and had stairs that walked, and no elevator. Stairs, long stairs, and the kitchen was on the third floor. The lodge room was on the second floor, and I thought about it. I didn't think about it then, but I thought about it now, uh, now and again. Those women, they had to get that food up there and cook it, and it was hot, and no air conditioning, uh, and they had good meals. The dining room was always full. You know, they they worked well, and the men and stuff had to carry everything upstairs, and the women carried food and that stuff, new new dishes, repaired, you know, uh, whatever they had to get, and it worked out very well. And then when we moved to Sixth and Park, we only moved 4 blocks, but we moved to a new temple. They built one there at Sixth and Park Avenue in Newport, and we had to carry I volunteered to help carry the stuff down. We had to carry those stoves, refrigerators, and everything down those stairs. That was a tough job. It was hard, but we got done. We got them in, and we put them in the new temple. I loved it. I loved to be the master of a lodge. Our lodge were they give you a, a form, uh, and each chair did this a lecture. So you had to learn each lecture that they gave. You had to learn it. You know. Now where I lived, there was no running water, no sewage. You went outside. There was a pump. You pumped water and carried it back inside to wash my. I see my. Remember my father. I remember him taking a bath in a big galvanized tub in the kitchen, and my mother would have buckets of hot water on a stove, and kind of water in from the from the well outside to the pump. Um, Now they've got running water, but they don't have sewage. Um, they can't. We didn't have enough room for a septic field. Uh, you know, things were crude. When I was a kid, when I first went to the home, we used to travel on trains a lot. Trains are a bus, and trains were more reliable. Uh, but in Walnut Creek, where I lived, the railroad station was just a building alongside the tracks, and the train would stop, and you were standing on the ground, and you just got on the train and took off. Well, they put me on a train with my mother. It was there, and a couple of Masons. I didn't know any of the Masons then. I didn't know who they were. But anyway, I do now that they were lodge members. Uh, they said the train master or whoever he was there on the station told the conductor, said, "That's a homeboy, take care of him." That's the first time I heard them say anything about masonry or anything. And so we had to change trains in Corbin, I think, or London. London maybe. Uh, and so the conductor said, "Here, I got a seat for you." So he got a seat for me, and he checked on me every now and again. And then when it come time to change trains, he said, "Come here, I'll take you up to the train." So he did, and he introduced the new conductor, and he said, "It's a homeboy." And I said, "It's a homeboy. What is a homeboy?" But anyway, I found out later on that it was me. I was one of them. And anyway, the new conductor, he said, "Here, I'll take care of you." And so he did. And it was an enjoyable ride. And I got to Louisville, and the superintendent, Mr. Morris, was there. And he met me, and we got in his car, and he drove me to the home and introduced me to the matron, Mrs. Barber. That's what we call her. I don't know what her other name was, but we call her Miss Barber. And she said, "Here's your bed. You sleep here tonight, and I'll give you a regular bed tomorrow." This was night time, so I slept that night, and she next day she told me, she said, "This is your bed. You have to make it up," and showed me how to make it up and all that stuff. And there was about 20, 15 to 20 kids in the dormitory, and I was kind of scared, a little bit. Not really. I don't remember. And things just melded in. I just melded in. Things just worked out. We all got to get along. It was beautiful. It was paradise. They had white bread, and they cut it. I never had that. Electricity, it didn't have that. Running water, toilets, nothing. You would eat, you big tables like this, you would eat. And if when your bowl got empty, you wanted some more green beans or potatoes or whatever, you pass it down to the end, and he'd take the bowl and hold it up, and a girl would come that would get the bowl and go back to the kitchen and fill it up and bring it back to you. You know, it's just as much as you wanted. Drink milk. We didn't have milk at home. We didn't have a cow. Sometimes they would trade somebody for milk, somebody that had a cow. They they had cows, some people did, and they would take it up on the hill, across the creek and up the hill, and during the day, and then in the evening they'd have to bring it back and milk it. But anytime, sometimes they would, my mother or father would either buy some milk or trade it for something. For cereal, we used water for cornflakes. And cornflakes is all I knew. I didn't know any other kind of cereal. And, in the home, you drink all the milk you wanted. You know, it was great. It was warm. They were strict on you. They made you mind. You weren't allowed to be a free speaker. Free. You had to do what you were supposed to do. They didn't mind whipping you. I recollect that an adult, seemed like any adult was allowed to whip you, you know, if you did something wrong. And so, you know, it worked out okay. We had a lot of playtime. Um, you know, we had trains. They had wind-up trains. We would play with that, and we would put our tracks together to make bigger train, make it run them, see how far they'd run, and you know, things. Read a book, if you know, whatever you want to do. They had a radio. You listen to the Fibber McGee and things like that. You weren't allowed to turn the radio on yourself. You had to, the matron had to turn it on, tune it, and you know, for you. And things worked out pretty good. Mr. Morris was a superintendent. Now they had a problem with moles in his yard, and they pride themselves in their big yard they had. They kept it cut real good. But anyway, if you found a mole running, digging underneath the ground, you could see him. The ground kind of humps up. If you grab it, one guy'd grab it, step on it, and hold it. Another kid tear the soil apart and grab the mole, and you'd take it down to Mr. Morris, down in front of his cottage, which was number one, and he would you had to give him a live one, but anyway, he would give you a quarter. He'd pay you a quarter for the mole, and he would take that mole and mash it down on the ground on the road to kill it, and then we would have to take it over to the railroad spur and dump it on the railroad spur, and it would go away. For a quarter, if two of you went there, you got 12 cents. One guy got 13 cents and one guy got 12 cents. But if one of you went, you got a quarter. That was you couldn't spend it. There was no store, you know. They one of the matrons would on Saturday afternoon would take a group of kids walking downtown St. Matthew. Uh, there was a theater over there. We'd go to the show sometimes if you had money to pay for it. And she would take you to a store. You buy stuff, 5 cent stuff, penny. Candy was a penny, and stuff like that. And then that was a change of your routine. Uh, you always look forward to that, trying to find a mole. Finally, they got kind of hard to get. You know, they and behind our cottage in the spring there was a lot of dandelions, and there were didn't know any black people. I didn't know Negroes. I didn't know black people. I didn't know they were. We thought the Germans were black because they were mean. We thought they were mean and hard, but uh, there was a couple women, black women, that worked in the kitchen, and when they get off work, they would come over behind our cottage and cut dandelion greens, and we would kind of adopt one, just get to know her name, and she knew our name, and we would help her cut dandelions and poke. There was every now and again back in the bushes there was a poke plant. She would teach us how to tear the leaves off, the bottom leaves, the younger leaves. She wanted, but that would be in their salad. It was good, and dandelion greens are good in a salad. Yeah, and that's the first time I've met any black people, um, and they were nice. I don't know what happened to them. Where I lived, they called them cottages. They were actually big, kind of large homes, and had 2 floors. And I lived on cottage 3. It's called Wilson Hall now. But in the back of the cottage 3, there was porches, 2 porches, one first floor, second floor, and World War II was coming along, and we thought the paratroopers were the toughest there was. So one fella, he wanted to be a paratrooper, but he wasn't old enough to go in the Army. So he he tied a sheet with some, I guess, I don't know what he tied it with, and he got on the second floor, the porch on the outside, and he stood up on the corner and jumped, and it didn't. That his parachute didn't work, so he was laying there. I want to know how you doing? He said, "I'm sore." So he got okay. He didn't get nothing broke, but he got cured of that idea. And not me. I was too young. But when you got older, you worked. You worked in the print shop or a cobbler, uh, farm. They had a big farm. They they raised cattle and cows, pigs, and they would butcher a pig, and they would kill it up there at the farm, and then drag it behind a pickup truck down to the boiler house, I guess you call it, where the big smokestack was and all that stuff, coal and all that, where they made the heat for the buildings. Well, uh, they had a big bathtub sitting in this place, and they would grab that pig, and on a chain and pull it up with a chainsaw, and then drop it in that boiling water in that bathtub. And then our job was the kids, our small kids. Our job was to scrape all the hair off the pig, you know. So that's the only job that I had outside. On the inside of the the cottage, you had to clean it. You had a certain job you had to do every day. Every Wednesday they had after school a clean day, and Saturday morning half a day was a clean day. You cleaned everything. Those days we would clean windows, scrub the doors, shower walls, uh, you know, things like that that don't get washed every day. School was tough. They had a good school. Uh, when I came back from the home, I got into Covington public schools, and it was a breeze. I was getting A's and B's all the time. In the home, I failed the third grade, you know, but they taught you really well, and it fed you. You ate three meals a day, good meals, and all you wanted to eat. Uh, it was, and then the teachers were strict to you, but they were fair, you know. And that's about the only time that you mingled with girls. The girls were on one side of the campus and boys on the other side, and they didn't fraternize, but except in school and at meals. It was great. We had 1,200 acres we could play in. We had to go to school. Uh, After school, you change clothes and play. Uh, we had a lot of things. We had a playroom, play yard behind our cottage, swings and stuff, and a lot of stuff. You know, the older kids played baseball, and they had games to play baseball. Other teams would come and see them and play. Um, I don't know where they were from, but they first time I saw a mason with actually had money or used money. They were playing. I was standing on the third base line. There was no stands. You had to stand or sit in the grass, and it was all grass. The field was, and they just put the bases out, measured them, and they played ball. So this fella was sort of chunky, and he had coveralls on, uh, bib coveralls, and he said, he held up his hand with $10 bill in the hand. He said $10 for the first home run, and so the next batter came up and sucked one out in the right field out in the weeds, and he motored on around the bases and made a home run. Well, he come around third, and that guy just holded money out like that, and that fella just grabbed it and took off, kept on going. And that, that was just first time I saw a Mason do something like that. Uh, the girls played hockey. They it's on grass. It was on grass, and that was over in the when you first entered the home. It was on the right hand side, and we would go there and watch the girls play hockey. And I didn't know nothing about it, but it was there. I got to see the action, and there was a man pushing a ice cream cart, small cart, and he had dry ice in there to cool the ice cream off. And we didn't get any ice cream from him, but he would give us a piece of dry ice, and we had to juggle it back and forth so it wouldn't burn you. That was amazing. I never knew ice. I never knew the hot ice. Dry ice, they called it. Uh, it just evaporate, and it didn't melt, it evaporated. So, that in the baseball games, you just watch them, and that was it. Christmas was great. They gave you, they gave you paper, three parts, and in each part, A, B, and C, they had different items you could choose. You choose your item, you just check it out. And it said, from this block, take one item. From this block, take two. From this block, take three. Check three. So that's what you did. On Christmas, that's what you got. And it was during the war, during World War II. Metal was really scarce. It was rationed and everything, and they had wagons. You want a wagon? You tell them you want a wagon, you got a wagon. You know, there wasn't no ifs, ands, buts. Whatever they had printed there, that's what you got. And it was wrapped, and it was nice. They did real well. People that run that place did real well, I think. And now I do think. I didn't think about it much then, but now I do. I thought about meals and money, how they supported it. During the Depression, it was in '37 when I got there. It was during the Depression, and there was nobody working. There was no jobs. How did they get their money to do that? How they feed 600 kids 3 times a day, 7 days a week? Now I think about that now, but not then. I didn't think about it. But I wonder, how did they do that? But they did it. They come up with it. They needed some money. Somebody gave it to them. I remember they told us one time they used to bring coal up there in the gondolas, these coal gondolas, railroad. They had a spur would come from the railroad track up to where the heating plant was. And they unloaded the coal there. And they told us that some fella from down in Kentucky somewhere had just donated a whole car of coal for them. So they set that car up there and used it. They always sent a flyer like or a letter like asking for a donation. I'd donate some money, you know. I did go down and visit. I took my mother and my aunt down there quite a lot. Uh, we I told them, I said, well, you got to bring your something to eat because you you don't think I don't think we can eat in the dining room. Dining room was right in the big building in the center. Uh, so they would cook up chicken, and you know they were older women. They did everything very fairly well at, and I would take them down there, and they had picnic tables in front of the dining hall. Uh, so we got in one of them one year, and one of the widows walked up from her cottage to the dining room to eat, and she said, "Oh, I hope they don't have chicken. They have chicken all the time." You know, that's what we had, was chicken. But the girls talked to each other, and uh, they, my aunt especially, said, "But this is where I want to go when I'm getting old." Her son joined them, a lodge, and I told her, I said, "Well, someone has to be a Mason, I think." You know, I didn't really know, uh, but I found out, and so she always makes sure his dues was paid too, paid, so he didn't get suspended. And she said, "That's where I want to retire and live with, there at that home." I was an iron worker. I was married 49 years. I took them down to the home and showed them, and kind of explained the things to them about my background and my father and my grandfather, and you know, uh, I tried to just tell them about the family, uh, but I never did push them to go into masonry. Uh, but my one boy did, but the other two didn't. They're almost all gone now. You know, there's hardly none of the older ones left. They all, I lived too long to enjoy that later life with those people. They're gone. I'm here, and they're gone. It's just my life is just a little different. No, none at all.